over to questions, and then the environment groups will have a joint press conference.
Given the Prime Minister last year said that climate change was the greatest moral imperative of our time, and then they proceeded to completely put it in a box and bury it, how optimistic are you that Kevin Rudd's actually going to take any notice?
Well, it remains a great moral imperative of our time, and the Prime Minister knows that, and I believe he's serious about that. And the government went to great length to negotiate with the Turnbull-led coalition to get an outcome, but then that was dropped with the change of leadership. The negotiation here is much simpler because the proposal we've got on the table is one that's come from Ross Garnaut. It's easy, it's simple, and it's productive. It will reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and without companies being able to go offshore to enable them to keep polluting in Australia. And it does go straight to the source of the problem. It goes to the biggest polluters. And it does provide money for innovative research as well as for refurbishing in Australia, in the private and domestic sector, so that we get a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. It is a great moral imperative. And here we have a fantastic solution to go with the imperative. It's win-win, and the parliamentary numbers are there for this to be a success in the run to the election. A lot easier. This climate change prospect is a lot easier than some of the others, like health, that the Prime Minister's taking on at the moment. So it's a win for this Parliament and for the people of Australia, just waiting to happen.
Senator Brown, you said there was, you have the numbers are there to pass this. Who are the other two votes in the Senate?
Well, as you know, the Senator Xenophon has not said yes or no, nor have the two Liberal senators across the floor to back the CPRS legislation. But what's very significant is they want to see the legislation before the Senate to take it on its merits. And there's been no rejection from those folk. So we're very optimistic about the chances of it passing the Senate if it's brought in.
Has any modelling been done on the impact this will have on jobs, particularly in the mining sector?
Yeah, the modelling on jobs is all positive because this will save 63,000 jobs on the Great Barrier Reef. It's on the way to doing that, where there's twice as many jobs at stake from climate change as there are in the whole of the coal-producing industry in Australia. But we know there's a big dividend in jobs, some 10,000 jobs, for example, from the Greens' proposed scheme to give renewable energy to households, lowering power bills around Australia over a 10-year period, which allows you to be able to manage it and manage it very well.
It also, if I can just add, it also generates greater trust in the global community. One of the outcomes of Bonn was that there is a lot of work to be done to repair trust between the developing and the developed countries, particularly on financing. And what this proposal does is raise the money from the largest polluters and reallocate it in a way that allows Australia to play a good role in facilitating money for short-term fast financing, plus get some runs on the board towards long-term financing. That should be very appealing to the Prime Minister, because the message clearly coming home from Bonn is that if we are to move forward globally, somebody has to take the lead in terms of financing, and this would enable Australia to play a very constructive role.
So what kind of provisions are there going to be in place under your scheme to move those people who will have to move out of something such as the coal sector into another industry?
Well, how many are you talking about there?
Well, I mean, are jobs not going to be lost in the coal sector?
I think this will be a net jobs winner. And as we saw under the CPRS, there was no particular provisions being made there. Where you've got a jobs winner, you transfer people who may lose their jobs. But remember, at the moment, during every recession we see in Australia, thousands of jobs lost out of the mining industry, and nothing's done for those miners. What the Greens are doing here is putting up an alternative for a very rapid growth of jobs in the renewable energy sector in places where people want to live, with lifestyles that people want to have. It's a jobs winner, this proposal.
And it's a very big jobs winner in rural and regional Australia. Only yesterday I met with a number of dairy farmers to talk about the impact on their industry, on what's been happening with the global financial crisis and their negotiations with the large companies. And one of the questions they put is, when can we take advantage of renewable energy? When are we going to get the feed-in tariff that we want so that we can start generating income on our properties from generating renewable energy? So this is a really big opportunity for a transformation that is jobs rich. It's also about regional development and the opportunity for resilience in those communities already impacted by climate change.
Are you guys prepared to compromise on some of the elements of your proposal, such as a carbon price, assistance to the coal energy generators, and also a start date, which are things I understand the government have asked you to do?
Yeah, well, Christine's been involved in preliminary talks with Senator Wong on just those things. And yes, we're looking for a dialogue, and we're very well aware that that's going to be required on this huge issue which is with us for the rest of our life, not just before this election, but after the election. And the Greens are in a very big mood for negotiating with government now and government after the election on climate change. What we couldn't do was accept a built-in prescription for failure, which the current CPRS is, because it would have failed to go anywhere near the greenhouse gas reduction targets that are essential if we're going to tackle climate change and not make it worse. In fact, the CPRS prescription may have actually made it worse.
We also indicated in the letter to the Prime Minister that we're prepared to change the start date to the 1st of January next year. We had flagged originally that we wanted it to start on the 1st of July this year. Clearly that's not possible in the current negotiation, and so we've said we're prepared to delay it until the beginning of next year. Clearly this is a negotiation. We want to talk through these things, but fundamentally we have to have a carbon price in order to send the investment signal and in order to say to all Australians that henceforth there will be a price on carbon. It will be delivered through this levy in the first couple of years, and in the absence of an agreement on a target and the details of an emissions trading scheme, you will continue to be paying a levy with 4% plus CPI into the future. So that is the signal that so many people have been waiting for to make long-term investment decisions. That is why this is such a critical, not only social and environmental issue, but this is a critical economic issue.
In the preliminary talks that you've had with Senator Wong, do you get the sense that she's serious about negotiating with you, or is it just take you until the election?
Well, it's been my impression that if the government wasn't serious, they would have ruled it out on day one. They know that they made an undertaking to the Australian people to take action on climate change and have that implemented in this term of government. They attempted that through their own legislation, and that was unacceptable for a whole range of reasons, not least of which was the low level of ambition and the amount of compensation and so on. But I think they're quite genuine in trying to get a carbon price. That price is so important to transforming the economy, and I know Senator Wong is committed to that outcome. The question is, can they now put the effort into it in the next few months? Admittedly, they've been somewhat distracted and moved on to other climate issues, like trying to deal with the energy efficiency issues they've had on their plate. Senator Wong has been given extra responsibility recently for green loans, so she's had other things that she's been dealing with. But I think the Bonn talks will have refocused the government on the need to get moving in a global as well as a national sense, and I'm confident that their heart is still in getting a carbon price.
Do you have further talk scheduled?
No, I don't at this stage, and that is a reason why we've written to the Prime Minister saying, let's get on with it. We are serious about trying to get this through before the election.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.